So occasionally there are devices that release that don't really make sense why they exist. And in this video we talk about one of them. It is the Logitech G Cloud gaming device. So Logitech has joined into the handheld gaming experience with the rise of course, the giant of Nintendo with the Nintendo Switch, and now the rising competitor, the Steam Deck. There has been a lot of resurgence in mobile handheld, short of just our phones that can do a lot these days with mobile gaming. But they're still limited. They can't handle the powerhouse games that like the Steam Deck can, or the first-party games that are only exclusive to Nintendo's hardware. So Logitech has joined into that fray, and they come up with an interesting device that should be good, but it has one problem, and that is what it's trying to accomplish. And primarily it's trying to be a cloud gaming handheld device. This may seem like a great idea, but there's some issues with that. So let's first talk about the hardware itself. The hardware itself is actually surprisingly really good. You can tell this is from a manufacturer that has been in the hardware game of peripherals for quite a while. From the triggers to the D-pad to the buttons on the controller itself to even the ergonomic grips. All of this is actually quite well with this device. You can tell that it has a good fit and finish and has a decent overlay even to Android. It's a very good Logitech launcher to it that Logitech has developed for gaming. Beyond the hardware, that's where things start falling apart. And it's primarily in the software, somewhat in the hardware. The internals are where the problem starts. And that is by utilizing a 7 series Snapdragon processor. This processor is not a bad processor overall. It works good on mid-range smartphones. But the problem here is that this device can also do local gaming. Even though it's called cloud device only, it can do some local gaming through the Android App Store, or what they don't like to mention, emulation. Emulation, of course, works okay on this because any modern device running an emulator is going to work way better than the classic original device that it was on. Short of remapping controls, etc., emulations, of course, work fine on this. And with it being a built all-in-one device, there are some benefits to it, like emulation. It works great as a mobile handheld. The quality of the device, its controls, the triggers, etc., you can tell are from a very experienced manufacturer in making peripherals. But making a device that's only really used for cloud gaming is a shortcoming in my opinion. You can tell this device is primarily focused around XCloud, which you could say this is Microsoft's handheld because of the tight integration right out of the box it has for XCloud and Xbox gaming. And it works good for XCloud. But since it's only wireless, there's no LTE, like Razer's new option that's coming out. With the wireless as well, it doesn't support Wi-Fi 6E, a standard that definitely helps with gaming, and especially for something that should be cloud gaming to get as high as your bandwidth as you can possibly get. This would be important for a device like this to have, but it doesn't have that. So between the processor being outdated and the internals not having up to spec really for cloud gaming, it's very questionable on why this device was made. Now, I'm nitpicking a lot about this already, but I think overall it's a decent device, but its price range is not. At the price it's coming in at, even during the holidays with maybe a $50 discount, you can still get a Nintendo Switch, which is definitely a better device. Or even the very base model of the Steam Deck, which is low on storage, but you can expand its storage with micro SD. You can expand the storage on this device with micro SD. I don't really have a complaint with the storage on this device. But when you start to expand outside of cloud gaming and use Android gaming, there are some issues there. Some games will work great with this because the game has already been created to support peripheral controllers, Bluetooth controllers, etc. But a lot of the Android game store is not. They're meant for touch controls. They're meant for using touch input. So you have a lot of games that if you're trying to play with the controls, you're going to spend considerable amount of time remapping the controls. This is all possible. It's just a standard gamer doesn't really want to do. They just want to pick up the device and start playing. So that's another thing to be aware of, that you likely will spend some time doing controller remapping to get this to work. Another thing, since it's focusing on cloud gaming, other services like NVIDIA's GeForce do work as well. That's another popular one that's preloaded on the device. I found that it worked pretty good as well. Most gamers don't rely on cloud gaming. It's a nice addition to have now, but no gamer solely relies on cloud gaming. I was an early adopter of cloud gaming, even with Stadia, in hopes that this would be revolutionary. It can be, but in a world where internet is the requirement for some service like this, the United States is not in a place, especially rural areas, to be leading in internet bandwidth. And something like this, that could easily require at least 50 meg down and let's say 30 meg up to be reliable connection. This is a big stipulation people need to be aware of when using a device like this. Mobile-friendly device, you would think of other services besides XCloud and the GeForce would be good for this. You would think another solution that is kind of similar, and that's PlayStation Ready or PlayStation Now. This is more of a local gaming service, but you would think this one would work well. Unless you spend considerable time doing the remapping, this is one that does not work great on this system. Maybe in the future it will, but I did not have an enjoyable experience using it. And I thought this device would be great for that. Obviously, you can use your phone with a PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 controller and get the same experience, but having it all built into one controller, I thought was going to be a great experience. And it's not even for that. So this device is quite weird, in my opinion, of where it sets in the market. Hardware is great, form factor is great, but it starts to fall apart after that. And I just don't know where this could really fit when there's other competitors that are much stronger in this space. I think it's a good first attempt, and I hope Logitech continues to make a device like this. But I would like to see in the second generation with them focusing on maybe using one of the gaming processors like Razer's new upcoming one. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't buy this unless you are really into cloud gaming. So I will keep an eye on this device over time. If it drops considerably, like let's even say $250, it might be a reasonable choice, but above that in cost, I do not think it is. As always, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.